go without the microphone with such a small audience, but this is an esteemed audience. I can name all of you by name or profession, or I just give you a name because I don't know who you are. Forrest Franklin. What do you do, Franklin? That's so. Getting back to why I wanted the microphone, there's a very esteemed group of people in this room, and now I'm fucking talking, and you guys are all listening to me. Don't try to steal my thunder. Get the hell out of here, mutt. I'm just kidding. I love this dog. Come here. See, that's what trouble I get into. I'm what you would call a compulsive liar, but I cover it up by saying I'm just kidding all the time. It's an awful personality trait to have, but it's made me it's given me a profession late in life, or it's at least given me a direction late in life, being a compulsive liar. I think I don't even remember when it started. I lied all the time. It was constant. But they weren't lies to try to get away with anything, or it wasn't really like lies to cover things up. It was just outlandish lies for no reason whatsoever. Somebody would ask me where I had been, and I would make up these outlandish stories about bums that approached me and forced money on me that they had stolen from a purse that they felt guilty about. And so I went and bought Garbage Pail Kid cards with all this money that this bum had forced on me. And it's just, the whole thing was completely idiotic, but they were interesting stories to me. That was when I was much younger, much more talented than I am today. It's funny, I like breathing into the microphone. You think it sounds good? Like you think like, oh, that sounds like, but the audience, it does not sound good to the audience. I have heard, people talking and they're like, and it just sounds awful. But for some reason, when you're holding a microphone, you think it like just adds some gravitas or something to what you're doing. I don't know what that's about. So what I wanted to do, yes. It must be. You can hear the popping and clicking in his mouth because he has the microphone up really high. I'm not a big fan of Garrison Keillors. So I was hoping that I would gear myself up a little bit into something because I'm very tired. I'm bone tired, soul tired, tired in my brain. So I was trying to rile myself up. Then I saw Brent with his leg crossed like that, and he suckered me into crossing my leg like that as well. And that's a very relaxed position to be in, so you get relaxed, and I'm going to fall asleep here. But I guess the two things that I wanted to talk about, and I just decided the two things that I wanted to talk about up there, so I don't really have them fully formed, but I think these are the two things that I want to talk about today. I was hoping that we might be able to go over some of this stuff tonight. The first thing is something really significant happened over Mother's Day. Very significant for me as an individual. It was Mother's Day, and we're traveling all over the place. We were down in Columbus to spend some time with some of Michelle's friends. Then we drove up to Youngstown, and we were going to be there with Michelle's mother and grandmother, and we were in the car for a long time. The day before, we were in the car for the 2.5 hours that it takes to get down to Columbus. We were in the car for the 2.5 to 3 hours that it took to get to Youngstown. So, thinking about Mother's Day, having it on my mind, I decided that I was going to call my mother because I figured she would be off of work. I believe it was on a Sunday, or it was celebrated on a Sunday. Now, for those of you, hey, Jonathan, for those of you that are familiar with me or have known me, you've all heard the anecdotes about my mother being a Scientologist. If you haven't heard those anecdotes, you can go onto boxoftheman.com into the archives. It's peppered throughout all my creative work for the last 20 years because a long time ago, I felt my mother chose Scientology over her obligations to her family. She was young, and she found an answer, which I suppose is what all of us are looking for. You know, if you find something that you find is meaningful and protects your soul, then it's obvious that you're just going to devote your life to it. And if your children put up roadblocks between you and this ultimate awareness or this ultimate understanding, then unfortunately the kids have to go, you know, which seems insane. But when you're dealing with Scientology, you're dealing with lifetimes, and you're dealing with billions of years. So it's a completely different, you know, you're working off of a completely different foundation than normal human beings. We work off of a lifetime. And I was under the impression that a mother never turns on her son. I mean, you see the movies with sons in prison for murdering a family, and who still goes there to visit that boy? His mother. And here I am, mother completely disavowed. I'm thinking, I must, you know, you go through all those things, 16 years old, 18 years old, 20 years old, laying on the floor of your bedroom or the house that you share with all your friends, and just racked with pain and self-doubt and self-loathing. And that carries over, you know, until eventually you get older and you realize that, of course, your mother never did anything to hurt you. You know, especially after you have children of your own, you begin to understand that I would never intentionally do anything to hurt my children. So I can imagine my mother never did anything intentionally to hurt me. She just did things that she felt were the right thing for her to do, and then inadvertently they caused me significant amounts of discomfort and pain. But fortunately, that was a while ago, and I've kind of gotten free of that. I've broken free of that, or at least I had thought that I had broken free of that cycle. This is when we enter Mother's Day, just this last month. So we're driving from Columbus to Youngstown, and I decide I'm going to call my mother. I'm going to call her. So I take out the old cell phone, and I call, and of course she answers the phone. And my mother is always happy. She always convinces you immediately that she is very, very happy that you called, and just could not be more thrilled about talking to you on the telephone. Except for that one time when I was like 19 or 20 and I called her and she told me, "Now you know, Eric, that I can't have any contact with you and you cannot call here." Well, of course, she wasn't happy to hear from me, and that led to years of drug abuse, promiscuous sex with women. And that was actually a really good time.